Hello YouTube, I'm Kate. I'm here today to show you some great tips and tricks on how to grow a plentiful garden. Alright, I live in the city. If you see my backyard, it's crazy small. I don't have a lot of room to plant, and so a lot of what I do is I do container gardens. And I will make some videos on that up to come. But for right now, we're going to take a look at some of my tomatoes. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right in, and I'll show you a quick video of some of my tomatoes. So, here we have a set of 3, see, they're quite large now, tomatoes. They're about 5 foot tall, alright, and they are actually a determinate variety that we're only supposed to get about 4 foot tall. But this shows you that, with the proper feeding and techniques, that you can get tomatoes to grow much larger than what it says on the package. So let's take a look. Alright, so first of all, what I did was I made something very simple, and you don't need any money to do it. It's free. Alright, so you take a 2-liter bottle. Alright, I don't even drink soda. One of my neighbors gives me their 2-liter bottles. They drink a lot of soda. I think it's really unhealthy for you, and I don't really like all the sugar or sugar substitutes, which is even worse for you. Anyways, so what you do is you cut the top off. Alright, make sure when you cut it off that it doesn't have to be super straight. As you can see, I'm a horrible cutter. What I use to cut them is I use a little X-Acto knife, but you can use scissors. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's after it's done bulbing and it's starting to go down straight. Alright, and this is going to be your little cap. Then what you do with the bottom part is you're going to want to make 4 slits. And if you could see, alright, there's one slit. Oh, can't really see it, but see? Alright, and there's one at each equidistant, well, it's not a corner, but each equidistant arc length. Alright, and then on the bottom, what I have here is I have some holes. Alright, and so I put one in each one of these little bulbous things they put on the bottom where, the end of the soda is that even soda drinkers don't want to drink. And then there's this line that is pretty much where the bottom of the label would end up. And I put 4 around there as well. And I think that that's enough. I've seen a couple of videos or how-tos that put them all the way up. I don't really think that that's necessary, and I think that it's not even as beneficial. Alright, so what you do is you take this, and see, this is like your little cap. So you stick your bottle top through each one of those little tabs that you cut on the top, and see, it just kind of sits back on there. Alright, so you're making a cut bottle hole again. Alright, and you take this bottle and you dig it down into the ground. Alright, you dig a hole into the ground and you're going to bury it. And what you're going to do is, I usually bury it till about this height, alright, so maybe 2/3 of the way up. And you just bury it down in the ground, okay? And then what you do is you plant your plants around it. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and show you next. Alright. So, if we can find it here through the madness. Okay, so as you can see, we have our bottle, alright, and it's planted down into the ground, like I said, about 2/3 of the way down. Alright, I mean, I never really get rid of all the ground cover. I kind of like it. Some people don't want that in their gardens, but it doesn't really bother me. See, I told you I'm a bad cutter. Look at this. This is totally not even close to straight, but it doesn't really matter. It works the same. Once again, there's holes in here. And what you do is you can put anything in there. All right. You want to put things that are compostable. All right. So if you got some dried leaves from the fall, all right, you can sprinkle those in there. You like to eat bananas as much as I do? Look, I take my banana and I save the peel and I put it out on my back porch and I just let it dry to a brown crisp. All right, and then you can cut this or you can break them up. They break fairly easily. And you just put it in here, and any kind of compost will do. All right, anytime that you're composting, of course, you want to mix your browns with your greens. And what you do is that after you're done eating, just put whatever your compost that you have, any type of vegetable matter. You don't want any type of meat matter or pasta or anything like that, all right, because that's just going to stink. It's going to attract animals, and that's what you don't want. You just put it in here, and then what you do is you're going to want to fill this up with water. You put the top on, and you're good to go. And what this does is it's going to feed your plants as well as water your plants daily. All right, and so what I do is I put in my daily compost in there. I fill the whole thing up with water and just put the top on and let it go. And if you take a look, I mean, I've only had these in the ground for a couple of months now, but let's take a look at what we have here. All right, and as you can see, I mean, we have some beautiful leaves. I do sucker my plants. Some people don't like to, especially with determinate varieties. I found that it is still beneficial. We have random leaves stuck to it. We can get rid of that. Your tomatoes don't really like to touch other plants. They don't mind touching each other, but they don't like to touch other plants. As you can see, we got some beautiful tomatoes coming up. We've got tons of them. I don't know if you could see those. And we still got more and more growing as we go up the plants. And as you can see, these are just huge. You know, I don't have to water them each a gallon a day. You know, that 1 2-liter bottle that doesn't even get filled all the way up is more than sufficient. And yeah, I mean, I think that they're coming out beautifully. And also, when you do this method, you can plant more tomatoes in a smaller space, okay? Because it's not so much the root growth that makes it so that you need to plant tomatoes about 2 feet apart, which is, I believe, the recommended spacing. It's more the fact of feeding it, all right? Because they're high feeders, and if you don't feed them enough, and you don't want to use, you know, artificial plant food, you know, that's not good for you're putting that in your body. You don't want that. All right, so this composts quickly, it's natural, it feeds your plants proficiently and with less water. And so if you take a look here, I have a small tomato plant, and it's next to all of my larger tomato plants, all right? And so what I'm actually going to do, because my bottle is way over here, is I could have planted them in here, but I didn't want them to suffocate because they do need a certain amount of air, okay? Just like we breathe air, they do too, and they need a little bit of space in between their leaves to breathe and to grow sufficiently. All right, so I'll probably plant another water bottle right about here, and what that will do is it will also serve to feed these 2 larger tomatoes as well as this small one. And I don't think you could see it, but I actually have another small one over here. And actually these were cuttings. I heard a lot of people tell me that you can't use cuttings from determinate varieties of tomatoes to make new tomato plants, which is absolutely false, okay? And I'm going to show you this right now. What I have here is I have rats, and they love peanuts just as much as I do. So I usually get these little things of peanuts, and I eat about half of them, and they do. So, and as you can see, they have a bunch of little tomato suckers on the, or in them. All right. If you don't know what a sucker is you have your main branch, and then you have branches that come off at alternating sides of your tomato plant. Well, sometimes in between your main stalk and that arm, or some people call it an elbow or an armpit. I think that's kind of gross, but whatever floats your boat. But anyway, sometimes they will grow out another little, it's actually like a baby plant in between the main stalk and your little arm. All right, and what you want to do a lot of times, at least a lot of farmers do, is that they like to sucker your plant, all right, which means that you take those off because it's actually another little baby plant. It's almost like a clone of your plant, and that's going to draw nutrients into that little clone of a plant instead of putting it into the plant you already have. All right, and that's not really inducive to growing a lot of fruit. So what I do is I sucker my plants, and I just take them and I put them in water. And so I put a few of these in the water a few days ago. I mean, I do this every couple of days. I look through my plants and sucker them off because they do grow quite quickly for me. And pretty much what you want is you want a sucker somewhere between this high and somewhere between this high, all right? If it's smaller than this, it's not likely to survive. If it's bigger than this, then you're kind of too late, all right? And as you can see, I just took this one off yesterday. It was a hiding, so I didn't really see it. And, you know, just looks like a leaf. This one I did about a week ago, and as you can see, we have lots of little roots growing, all right? And if you've ever grown tomatoes before, you've probably noticed that at the bottom of your plant, if it's starting to get a little root bound or something, you'll know right away because little roots will come out from the bottom of your plant, all right? What that means in that case is that you kind of want to, what I do is I mound, all right? Just like you would with a watermelon, or any type of squash variety, cucumbers, where you plant them in a mound. If you mound tomatoes, because maybe you didn't plant them deep enough or the ground below is too hard for them to put their roots down into, all right, if you mound them up, what that will do is it will give them a little bit of extra room to grow more roots, get more sturdy, and, you know, subsequently be a healthier plant. And so what you want to do is, I'm going to give this one, you know, probably 2 or 3 more days to set out a couple of more roots. But I mean, that looks pretty good. I might just plant that one tomorrow. I don't have time today. It's getting a little late in the day. But yeah, I just take these, and of course you want to moisten your soil first, always. And then I just put them right in the ground. I don't usually add any additional fertilizer or anything like that. Once again, I don't like fertilizers, especially chemical fertilizers. You know, I try to use just compost or compost tea, which I will show you in another video. So there's 2 tricks in order to grow great tomatoes. I hope to see you again. Go ahead and click subscribe and like this video.